So, what is up guys, Tag Gaming here. I am back with another video, but this time it's actually gonna be a different one. I'm actually gonna be talking about protists and fungi. If you're wondering why this is the Last of Us gameplay and even the Last of Us intro, it's because it talks about the cordyceps fungus and all that. I'll get into that later. This is a school project, and even though I could have done a different thing for this, from, one of the options was, I think, like, reproduction and all that, which one of my friends chose, but I wasn't going to choose either way. I realized, sorry about that protists and fungi, besides astronomy, is in my alley because of this game. It's really actually, pushed me to want to do it. So, anyway, I have a list here of a bunch of interesting facts and just things about the fungi. I do not have any footage of one specific thing or a few specific things I want to talk about, but I do highly encourage you to please look it up. I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff will be on YouTube. Check out articles and all that, So, let's just get right into the first thing and the first few things I want to talk about, which will be protists. So as the title stated, we are going to be talking about protists first. Now I do have two sections for protist fungi and the cordyceps of, interesting information and information that we apparently need to know. So we're going to start off with the boring stuff, So protists, like fungi, are actually very weird. They can be multicellular and single-cellular, and even carry traits from plants, animals, and even other fungi. They don't work the same exactly, as in, they have separate biological structures and all that, but they can be microscopic, very large, and some can even make their own food, while others eat other organisms. Some can even move, kind of growing in a thing from Venom, symbiotes, if anybody understands that joke. And they are so confusing that scientists have even questioned its name because of how diverse it is. Because there's not just like a one or two certain type of, sections of it. There's multiple. There's like over 100, and so there's so many that scientists have even questioned the, what to even call them. We've called them multiple things. One of them started with like king or whatever, but it's changed over the years. So now we're gonna go into the interesting facts. So the interesting facts are kind of the same, but not exactly. I actually have a big list of this stuff here. So, going off of the scientist classification of them, apparently scientists used to classify protists as supergroups, which honestly sounds cool, and I know it can play off of multiple different things, but, I think that's kind of cool. After doing a lot of research, they kind of came down to three groups: animal-like protists, plant-like protists, and fungus-like ones. I would recommend going to go to Google for that, because there's a lot to those. Now, one of the most interesting things that I saved for last is once a protest actually invaded a small, what was it, town, or a small neighborhood in Dallas. In 1973, a species of protist that we now classify as dog vomit mold, which is honestly gross, but you know why they would do that. Um, it invaded a small neighborhood, and it got so bad to the point that some of the residents had to go and call firefighters, police, 911. But the thing is that when the firefighters actually used water on them, it just made it grow. So that kind of already tells you it didn't do anything to it but help it spread. So I think that's honestly very, very interesting. And that's about it until we get to the next one, which is fungi. So even though I've already said this before, fungi, like protists, are actually a very interesting thing. And like before, I have some facts and normal facts, or facts and interesting facts about them. And obviously, we're going to start off with the, not interesting facts, unless you want to think they're interesting, then, everybody has their own opinions. So some interesting facts about them is, I learned this, and it was even confirmed in the science book that we read, but fungi aren't exactly the same as plants. Okay, so they don't have roots, leaves, or stems. They don't have any chlorophyll, which is what plants normally have, and so they get food by absorbing it from the environment. Now, I know that plants do that as well, but they also mainly get their food from photosynthesis, which is what, as remember, that's what chlorophyll does. The green in plants are chlorophyll, but in fungi, there's none of that. So what they do is they have what we call something else, but it pretty much is like a busted version of roots, and it absorbs the nutrients from animals, plants, dead organisms, the ground, anything around it. Which is why one of the famous things of knowing about fungi is that they eat off of organisms. You know, it's actually a very interesting process. Um, and the next thing I have is they are multicellular. Multicellular. God, I suck at saying that. But I mean that's understandable if you go and look at how they are. It's actually very, very interesting. The bodies of multicellular fungi are made of strands called hyphae that go from the ground all the way to the head, which is I think what a lot of people call it. It's called something else, but I didn't actually know if they were classifying the head as part of that or like the skin in the book. It didn't really specify, but people call it the head or like the top of the thing. And it produces spores from the bottom of it, and we'll get into spores later with the cordyceps fungus when we talk about that. But the next thing is they, like I said, they produce or they reproduce by making spores and letting the wind carry them to far places, and they would land and grow and go from there. It's actually really cool. They also have multiple types of fungi, such as primitive fungi, which mainly live in water and use flagellae type spores to propel themselves, which I've only known fungi as the mushroom type, so to know that there are actually fungi that live in the water, that's actually really cool. And I'm guessing they were named primitive because, the ocean used to be water and a lot of the land wasn't really there, and so they had to adapt, and so they were primitive. The next one is sac fungi, which are things that would they're things like truffles and morels and mold. And if you don't know, truffles are what fancy people eat, pretty much. You know. So some interesting facts about fungi is they are weird, obviously. They don't use sun as food because they don't have the chlorophyll, so they don't use sun at all. And they don't even like light. They prefer dark and damp places like caves and, their closet, like a teenager's closet. So, um, they'll eat anything as well. Like I said before, with how they use the environment and stuff, they'll eat anything, including other dead animals and other fungi. It's called something, not cannibalism, but it is called something else, but I do not remember what it was at all. Now this one is interesting. In 2007 and 2006, a fungi came from Europe and hit New York and infected bats. Now, it had a certain kind of classification name, and I don't know if it's in here. It's called the white nose syndrome. Okay. So what it did is it came around during like cold times, Christmas, all that, and got into bats, and it was called the white nose syndrome because it got in through their nose and made it white. And what it would do is it would awake the bats. So here we go. It would cause the bats to stop hibernation, and once during the winter, there are no bugs. So when the bats wake up, stop sleeping, and the fungi would make the bats waste their fat reserves in their bodies, and they would starve to death or freeze to death. And if they did somehow make it through the winter, the fungi would obviously be cured and slightly die out. But by the next winter, if they do get reinfected, um, it's pretty much game over. And even then, the fungi would grow on the walls, on the cave walls and stuff, where they would actually, live and rest and stuff. So, you know. Now, the final thing, which I've actually have a lot of stuff down, is the cordyceps fungus. So, I'm back with some interesting stuff about um, cordyceps. So, the thing is, I want to say before we start off, the game that's in the background, if you haven't known already, because of the intro, is The Last of Us, Part 2 specifically. And I just gotta say, it's actually a very good game. After playing it a second time just to get the stuff that I need and all that, it is honestly a very, very good game. It's still not that good of a story, and there's still some big flaws to it. But you know, it's still a good game, and this is one reason why it made me do the fungi and protist idea, because it uses the cordyceps for its story. So, before we actually get into the interesting facts, I just want to say the story about it is that a mutated version of the cordyceps fungus goes and starts to infect people. So if you don't know, the cordyceps fungus is a real virus or a real fungi. But the special thing about it is it only affects ants. But it does actually do very interesting things to them, such as shut down their nervous system, take over their nerves actually, and control them. The main thing about it is that it goes and it what's the word? It controls like a zombie, and it goes and makes it hang on a leaf, and sooner or later it kills it and starts to sprout a giant thing out of its head, to where it then bursts full of spores and goes onto the other ants below it. Beautiful process. But in this game, it kind of acts the same way. Um, but except you don't have a thing growing out of your head. But it does infect you and try to spread it, kind of like zombies. It's very, very interesting. But I do have some stuff about the cordyceps fungus that does lead into the game, but we're not going to get into that. That could be a completely separate video. So really the first thing is it lives in actually very normal places, like Brazil, some tropical forests. Um, so you better watch out. Um, and before I go any further, sorry, I forgot to add this part. The reason why I brought up the game and stuff and the story is because the thing is that since it's mutated, it's not a scientific project or anything like that. It literally just changed because of nature. So in this game story, it's not that far off from it happening in real life, So be wary. Anyway, so yeah, it can live in Brazil. It is the cause of the zombies and the famous series, The Last of Us. The nickname of it, as I remember, is a zombie ant fungus, which is really cool, you I already explained that it hijacks their brain and stuff. Leads it out of the safe to the nest. It grows long stalk. Um, and the thing I actually learned is normally we're known for it to infect the nervous or like the brain and stuff, but apparently it actually doesn't do that. It infects the nervous system and controls it from there like a what is it? A marionette with strings. It's like it infects it like that, and it's really really cool. So in general, it infects the nervous system and not the actual brain to control it. So it's kind of just a driver in the passenger seat. You know what I mean? And that's actually a very, very scary thing to think of. Um, and so this is supposed to be I think, a shorter video. But my friend Parker, which I'm calling out, was like, don't write a script because it's YouTube, and I went with it. I didn't write a script, and now I'm going off topic multiple times. But that's kind of actually the entire video, as abrupt as the ending is. But, you know, I'm kind of cutting it short here. There's a lot of stuff I was planning on adding, and I didn't, and I'm upset about it. But, I don't know what else I really want. I got the interesting facts and all that, but I would love to do this again. Maybe in a longer span time, because I have all the clips, but I'm literally cutting it short. Like, it's due Tuesday and it's Sunday, so. But it was fun. I'm gonna go edit my outro. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.